Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, Jim, Jim. Official workouts today. It is Monday.
Yeah, Monday, spring training started. Everybody's reported to camp. Yeah, good stuff. Not a whole lot happened this weekend, but is what it is.
Are you sure? Seems like a lot of stuff happened this weekend. Maybe not so much Pirates related, but there's a lot of stuff that happened this weekend. We don't need to maybe discuss it all on this show, but there's a lot that happened this weekend.
Yeah, it was a weird weekend, wasn't it? Friday
was
was
really
one of
weird.
the weirder days of my entire life. But yeah, we won't get into that here.
Nothing screams this fan base needs baseball more than I feel like we talked about this weekend, but honestly, this entire week.
Yeah, this fan base is starving for something. So, yeah, let's just get to games. Saturday game start. Let's get to that so we can actually start talking about like how guys look, and yeah, that's what I need right now.
Yes, we all do. But we're almost there. We honestly are. It is Monday. Like you said, Saturday is the very first game against Baltimore. With you're talking about some, we know how spring training goes at first, right? A lot of the prospects play and two teams with some pretty talented prospects. So that's gonna be a fun first game as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for this coming week. Excited for the weekend. Excited to get games going. I just want to see baseball again. Like college baseball was on this weekend. I didn't really catch any of it, but yeah, that's something right there.
That's right.
If you're
And for a fan base that loves to talk about things way too early, yeah, college baseball's back. So
college baseball's
the
back,
Pirates
and
picking in the first round this year.
I'll say this: Chase Burns looked really good this weekend.
There you have it.
So yeah, you know what? Let's just start talking about Chase Burns. My guess is if he keeps pitching the way he pitched this weekend, he's not going to be around when the Pirates pick. So it's not going to matter.
There you go. Well, anyways, with that said, yeah, we are officially into workouts today. Pitchers and catches reported last week. Andrew McCutchen showed up. O'Neill Cruz is down there, showed up already. So we've gotten some pictures and video clips. But like you said, there's not a whole lot to actually talk about. I think we dove into on NS9 Live some of the things that came out of spring training. And nothing since has. And sure, there's been some rumors that have happened, but nothing that we also really haven't talked about in the sense of those rumors. So,
right.
Jim, you had a good idea as we were behind the scenes talking, what the hell are we going to talk about today? Do a little mailbag show.
Yeah. So shout out to the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. Links in the description. But yeah, we asked the Discord to give us some questions that they had for us, and yeah, they delivered. Definitely have enough questions to get through a show. We may not even get to all of them.
So let's start.
Let's do it. Where you want to start?
The top. The very first question. That's usually a great place to start.
All right.
So, actually, question is from Frank. And he asks, who do you think will be the best of Ronzi, Priester, or Ortiz this year? This is a tough question. I'll just start off with that sense. This is a very tough question. I don't personally know how to truly answer it either. I mean, this is all very subjective here. This is what's going to happen. Here's my thoughts and my feelings. Boom, take this for gospel. This is just, who do I think? And
right.
I guess for me to work it out, Ronzi's fallen so far from grace, but there was a time he was a very, very talented pitcher. And again, he had Rowan's day. That wasn't that too long. That wasn't that long ago, Jim. If we're talking a year ago, 2022, most excited for when you name these three pitchers, it's clearly Rowan's.
Probably,
clearly.
Yeah.
But man, last year was so, so bad. And like the words of Rowansy could be DFA'd has come out of our mouth multiple times. Like he could be DFA'd this year. And as far as
Oh,
what's that?
yeah, like if he doesn't look good in spring training, he's probably gone. Like
Right.
he's show it.
And like with Luis Ortiz, he kind of came out of nowhere, but I mean, he shot up and you saw the talent when he made his debut and such, right? And the last year was pretty bad also. And
Mhm.
Quinn Priester was a prospect, right? He never really like showed out in the majors until last year. Well, he didn't show out either, but like he never showed up into the majors and it was a struggle. But like I guess he still has that new shine to him a bit. Like he's still a prospect. I feel like Quinn Priester. Like I feel like he's the safest to me. That's where I'm at.
I think Priester is like a couple tweaks away from being an effective major league pitcher. But I think if you're gonna if I have to choose between these three, I'm just looking at like pure stuff, and I'm gonna bet on that. So based on that, I'm going Luis Ortiz. Because you even look at it, and last year, he clearly took a step back, right, in his development. But 86 and 2/3 innings pitched, 4.78 ERA. He was heads and shoulders above both of those other two guys. Like when it came to actual results, the way he got to them, not necessarily maybe the way we want that to be. Like the strikeouts were way down, the walks didn't look good, but like just from a pure stuff standpoint, he's just flashed the best out of the bunch.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning. I would lean more towards Luis Ortiz out of those three. Roanzi he just looked done. Like at the end of like he just looked like he had nothing in the tank last year. Priester, I still somewhat believe in, but yeah, I'm gonna go Ortiz. And I'm just betting on the stuff. That's it. Like I'll just say like he has the best stuff out of the three. So that's who I'm going with. If I had
That's
to
absolutely
choose.
fair. Like I can't harp on anyone who's going to pick either of them. That's just part of that's why this question's kind of loaded in that sense. I think it
Yeah.
just ends up being preference until spring comes. Like that's one thing. Like once spring training hits and you're starting to see them pitch, I think we have a clearer idea of like what we might be able to expect this year.
I'll say this, like the Pirates really could use at least one of those guys turning things around. Like they
Yeah.
need one of them. They need one of them to be like, you know what, I'm a major league pitcher. Because right now, neither of
We've
the
seen how
three.
this offseason's gone. But
Yeah.
yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So they need one of those guys.
No, I'm with you. Okay. Well, good. Good question, Frank. Good answer, Jim. So here's a question. So what can we look forward to when you guys get down to Bradenton? You guys have any plans once you get there? I think it's a fun one. We have a
Yeah.
lot of plans. I'll say that much.
Yeah, we have a lot of plans. So the cool thing about this trip, one, it's in Bradenton, but two, it's really the only chance that like all of us get together, for the year. Like we'll do a tailgate, another, NS9 tailgate this summer at PNC Park, and everybody will be invited to it, and that'll be fun. But this is really our first chance to get together and like hang out for a few days. Um, so I mean, while we're there, like we're gonna try to just knock out a ton of stuff to just kind of get for you all over the course of the year. Like we'll probably be recording a bunch of stuff that we can use in YouTube Shorts and TikToks and things like that to spread out across the year. So look forward to things like that.
Jim will be dancing.
Yeah, no dancing for me. I'm looking forward to seeing
That's what
some
you think.
some some contacts too that we've made. Like obviously, a bunch of the beat writers will be there. It's always fun to hang out with, everybody. We've had a bunch of guests on the show who, we get together with them when we're down there. And then just being in Lecom Park, like that's with actual baseball being played. Huge fan
Right.
of that. But no, I think you can expect like every day while we're down there, we're gonna kind of similar to what we did in winter meetings. Like we'll recap the day, the action, things we saw, things we heard, things like that. So we'll have something for you at least once a day, most likely twice or 3 times per day for
Right.
you while we're down there.
Yeah, it's packed. Like our schedule's packed, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. And like you talked about a little bit about the house, right? I mean, the reason we got the house too is it looks pretty fun. It looks like a pretty cool place to make content. We'll put it that way. So yeah, like I'm really excited to get down there. And like you said, the fact that like we're all gonna be together again to see each other, the content we're gonna make, and just hanging out, having a good time. Just dudes being dudes. That's part of it as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can't wait. But yeah, and also like we pretty much plan on being in Pirate City like every morning. So, we'll get content from there. And then of course being at the games. Uh yeah. So there's still some things up our sleeves. Hopefully we'll announce soon. So stay
Yeah. So
tuned.
if you all want like a grainy video of a Hunter Barco bullpen, we'll have it for you.
Gotcha. Stay tuned. Love it. Yeah. So there is that. I guess our next question is now this is interesting. We've kind of talked about, I think, with Mackey, but thoughts on trading Sawinski and minor league arm for Cabrera and then filling the outfield hole by signing Michael A. Taylor.
Yeah. So I think this whole Sawinski for Cabrera thing started with Mackey on our show. Like he mentioned that he would do it.
Mhm.
I disagreed with him. I would not trade Jack Sawinski for Edward Cabrera. Yeah, like no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's a straight up answer to the question. No, like Michael A. Taylor is not a good replacement, I think, for Jack Sawinski. Like he brings you completely different things than Jack Sawinski brings you. Michael A. Taylor is going to provide you really good center field defense. The bat, though, isn't that great. If you get anything out of the bat, it's a bonus. Whereas with Sawinski, like this lineup really, really needs that bat of his in it. And I said before, like I think Jack Sawinski's going to turn into a very good baseball player, and I think he keeps taking steps forward. I think he has a really good year this year. I'm not trading Jack Sawinski at this point unless it's for somebody way more established than Edward Cabrera.
I think that's fair. I think we did talk about it earlier, and I want to say this keyword earlier. When we talked to Mackey, it was much earlier in the offseason. I think you could make an argument of how that could be a fair trade in a sense. And don't like bash me, but what I'm saying is like both come with flaws. Both like you see good in both of them. You see flaws in both of them. And I think both have a chance to turn around and be good players, but both have a chance to also maybe not. Like those struggles with Sawinski carry over and he strike out the way he does and the contact's really not there. Like he might not be that guy, He's good enough. He's a major league player for sure. And so is Edward Cabrera. So like I can see the argument there, but what I'll say is ultimately we're too far in the offseason to entertain that right now. And I say that because if you make that deal, because you can sign a guy in the outfield. Like you can replace Jack Sawinski. That's something we talk about. Like corner outfielders aren't that cost heavy. Like you can
There's
just
still
kind
some
of
available. Like there's still some decent ones available.
there are, but not to the level that there were before. So I guess that's just kind of where I'm at also. Like you make the deal for Michael A. Taylor right now because he makes Jack Sawinski a better player. You don't make the deal for Michael A. Taylor because you need to replace Jack Sawinski. And that's where I'm at. Like if I'm trading Sawinski for Edward Cabrera, I've now made my rotation look stronger, but my outfield's really weak now. So you got to replace that, and that's just where I'm at. I think you could do it easier earlier in the offseason to do that if you wanted to make that move. But now I think it's going to be much harder, and I'm staying away.
Yeah, I think if you were dealing from a position of strength in the outfield, then maybe it's a little bit easier to do. But the Pirates don't have a deep outfield at all. I mean, you look at their 40 man, you look at their minors, and like there's no one there who could just like step in, right? So like if Jack Sawinski was a borderline starter, and he was like fighting for position or playing time on this team, then sure, go ahead and do it. Kind of similar to how Edward Cabrera is with the Marlins, right? Like they've got this plethora of pitchers, so it makes him at least somewhat expendable for them to plug holes in other ways. The Pirates don't have a plethora of outfielders, so you deal Jack Sawinski, and all you're doing is just making another hole. So I know you could, like I said, you could. The question was plugging the hole with Michael A. Taylor, but I think those are two different caliber players, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So there's that answer.
Yeah,
Next
I kind of agree
one.
with this right here. Like the only way you trade Sawinski is if you go and you turn around and you sign Bellinger.
And that's just not going to happen.
And that's not going to happen.
And that's
yeah.
right. But that would be it. Like if they went and signed Cody Bellinger, you can be you can probably do eased it into that loss of Jack Sawinski, because now he brings in Edward Cabrera. If you have Cody Bellinger, like, we're cool.
Yeah, I'm probably wanting more than Cabrera though. Like at that point,
I think also a little
bit higher. Yeah,
from my point of view, yeah, I do agree with that. I think instead of, like, his question was Sawinski and a prospect for Cabrera, I think it'd be more like Sawinski for Cabrera and a prospect, and probably nothing substantial, but like I think that would be flipped.
Yeah.
All right. So here's another question. This I think kind of deals with the Marlins also, but Peguero has all-star potential at second base with his pop. I would do Bay Ashcraft, but don't think the Marlins would do it. So of course I assume this is for Edward Cabrera as well. There's been a lot of talks and rumors, and the rumors, I don't know whose source or what's being actually reported, but the rumors that you see on Twitter floating around are that Peguero possibly, but before that it was a lot of Bay and Ashcraft and such. I'll start and say this. For a trade for Edward Cabrera, like if it takes Liover Peguero, I'm okay with that. And I know there's a lot of people that had a lot of backlash that, look, again, like this is a second base who has this type of pop and potentially all-star potential. And I mean, like Edward Cabrera has all-star potential also. There's two players that are also kind of flawed. But there's some things that you like in them. But like Peguero's not an untouchable prospect that I think a lot of people are now insinuating when these rumors came out with Edward Cabrera. Like Peguero's, I like him. I hope to see him, play well and do good and become a productive Pirate. But like, there's no guarantees that he is, and he's not like this untouchable guy for me. And if like he's going to bring in an Edward Cabrera, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Bay Ashcraft gets it done. Like,
well,
not in the least. You're probably having to give up at least a player of Peguero's caliber, and yeah, I guess it depends too on like how you think of like can Nick Gonzalez take steps forward, right? That's a big question. How fast do you think Termarr Johnson can get to the majors? I think if you were going to trade Peguero, I would have rather seen the Pirates do something, maybe a little bit more proactive this offseason. Like maybe do this earlier in the offseason because, when you had some second baseman available, like maybe you trade Peguero for Cabrera, but then you sign Whit Merrifield, right? Or you trade Peguero for Cabrera and you sign Adam Frazier. Yeah, he's not the way he was before, but he's someone where you could be like, he's got the job. Nick Gonzalez, G1 Bay, Jared Triolo, you're all in the mix. Take it from him. Like you will have the opportunity to take it from him, right? So I think if you were going to do something like that, I would have liked to see them do like a move like that earlier on in the offseason. I would do it. Like if it was trade Peguero for Cabrera, I would do it. I like Peguero. I like Cabrera. Sometimes to get something good, you've got to give up something good. Like that's just how it works, right?
More than sometimes.
Yeah. And so then it's like,
yeah.
So then it's like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have Edward Cabrera or would you rather have Liover Peguero? you just got to kind of also see what else you have. Like if Triolo's probably, I would say right now, Triolo is certainly capable just because of the glove of putting up a 1 to 2 WAR season at second base. If you just plug him there pretty much every day, I don't think that's the best way to use Triolo, but like I think he's capable of doing that. So I would say yes, you trade Piguero, and then like the question of Bay Ashcraft, that just simply isn't enough to get it done.
Right.
I think we're overvaluing both of those players.
I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know if it's just because, like, again, too, like the initial talk and rumor was it was those two plus what was the third guy in this deal? Like,
Mitch
it just seemed
Jeb
like,
or
yeah, Jeb. It's just like that. That's not going to be enough. If that's enough to get Edward Cabrera, he's already traded to another team that said, "Oh, well, then here, take this."
right.
So yeah, like those initial thoughts and reports, like that's not enough to get it done. You're gonna have to take more. And like if it is at the Piguero line, then perfectly okay with it. And this I
Yeah.
think was where like a lot of home, and this isn't like blaming like Pirates fans or anyone listen to this. I think this is naturally any home team, right? But like this is where like you overvalue your own process. Like, and I get it, I understand. Like you like that player, so you don't want him to go. You don't know what Edward Cabrera is. You don't have attachment to them because like no, I'm not giving up Piguero for Edward Cabrera, but like Piguero's just like there's nothing that stands out and says like this is a can't miss guy. It's probably why he was
Absolutely not. Yeah.
not rated that highly, when he finally was rated as a prospect in the top 100 list and such. Like, and you saw him make his debut last year. Like, yeah, there's tools that you like about him. There's tools that you like about Edward Cabrera also. There's many flaws that Piguero brings as well. Like, we're not even sure defensively how good he is either. So, yeah, with that being said, if it takes Piguero to get Edward Cabrera, which is probably going to, that still seems like a win.
Yeah. I would do it. Which then feeds into there's another question here. Kind of along these same lines. We'll skip. So personally, I haven't. This is from Nosler 2020. Personally, haven't given up on Nick Gonzalez. Why did so many people give up on him so fast? Dude is a top 10 pick and could be pretty decent. So, like I said, if you trade Piguero, you're gonna then be leaning on Nick Gonzalez a little bit more. To really just to answer the question why people are down on him, like you drafted him as a potential batting title winner. Like those were what the scouts said. Just this elite hit tool. And he's just shown you he's not that. The strikeout rate coming from a guy who was supposed to be this advanced bat out of college. And I'm not even talking about his major league strikeout rate, which was over 28%, but throughout the minors, 28.5% in AA, 26.6% in AAA. Like those are just higher numbers than what you want to see out of a guy who's supposed to possess this such elite hit tool. And it just goes back to like we talked about this when we were debating like Mason Martin years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some things that you really like about Mason Martin, but at the end of the day, guys who strike out that much in the minors don't play well in the majors. Like they're not major leaguers. There are not very many people in the major leagues who are successful who struck out 29% of the time in AA. You just don't find them. Like, are there a handful of them? Sure. But the track record of hundreds and hundreds of baseball players who have done that in the minors doesn't correlate well. So I think that's why people are down on Gonzalez. He just hasn't shown in the minors what you want to see out of a future Major League Baseball player. Just plain and simple.
And like what I add on to the strikeouts with is he doesn't possess the power to make up for that. Like it would be different. Like 26, 28% isn't totally egregious. And like you can't become a major league player, but you're probably doing that because you're hitting like 30 bombs a year. And
Yeah,
that's
if
how
he
you
had
get away
O'Neal
with it.
Cruz type power, then it's like, okay, I can overlook that.
Right. This is a guy who's getting on base because of contact. And he can't make contact. So that's the problem. So I guess what I'm going to go to here is I think part of the issue is, and like this is like blaming you, right? But the way the question is like given is giving up on them like so quickly in a sense. And I think this has been a process. I don't, and maybe others have. I can't speak to them, but like for us, I think we're able to move and not move on completely. Like there's still hope. Like you still want to see him develop. I'm not giving up on him entirely, but I think we're able to pivot and move on from him quicker because we've had these warning signs and concerns as he's developed. And part of it was, for the first 2 years he's injured and like you kind of give him a pass and he had stronger second half. So you kind of overlook the issues. But when the issues are still there as he's, still healthy and hitting the higher, minors, and like you see the major leagues, like those issues are still there. I think Eric Longenhagen kind of said it best last year before the season started when he dropped so far. And we're like, why? Because there's still this talent there. And what if he turns it and he's just like, guys, listen, like it's not going to happen. And when you're seeing this stuff already, like in his mindset, like you just move on. It's not going to turn around. And he dropped them. He moved on way quicker than anybody. Yeah. And so again, like I guess that's just part of it. Like what you're talking about, like with his struggles, it just doesn't typically translate to major league players. And they didn't improve last year. So it's probably not going to be that guy. It's unfortunate. And I hope he is. Like I'm still going to give him his opportunity this year to prove us wrong. But I'm not banking on it.
No, man, that's pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Well put.
All right. So we'll go back in line since you skipped Barucki. Just want to point that out. Barucki Truther 1776 says. This is pretty good though. So this nails the head on Pirate fans. We bitch and moan because we are Pirates fans. Let's start out there and also preference back to this whole week. Yes, we're entitled to. We are Pirate fans. So we bitch and moan because we are Pirate fans. And regardless of who we sign during the rest of the start of the season, what are your thoughts on this team? If all goes right, which is a lot, it's potentially a wild card team pushing to win a division, especially this one. That's my opinion. What say you? And we all know who we would want to sign before the season. The question is, as is moving forward. Jim, what are the 2024 Pirates?
Ooh. I think they're a pretty volatile team right now. Like there's a wide range of what this team is capable of doing depending on how the younger players develop or don't develop. I tend to agree with him that this team is certainly capable of being in the mix for a wild card spot. Especially with the expanded wild card, like you're talking about 83 wins. That area means you got a shot, right, at making the playoffs. And I think this team is probably more like a 75 to 76 win team at the current moment. But, there's variance there, right? I mean, things go your way, you win a few extra games, boom, you're right there. I don't think this team in its current makeup, even with the way this division is right now, is even capable of winning it. Like I feel like the Central's weird in that there are also a lot of other teams that are kind of in the same boat as the Pirates. Like there are other teams out there who I think are capable of doing more than what they're projected to do or doing less what they're projected to do, right? You look at the Cardinals, like the Cardinals should be better this year, but what if they aren't? Like, what if their young guys don't take steps forward? What if all this whole time it was Yadier Molina keeping that team together, and as soon as he left, it just all goes to shit. I don't know, but I kind of keep looking at the Reds too as a team where, like, if just a few of those young guys keep their progression and development, like I think that's a team that has a much better shot of winning this division than the Pirates. There's a lot to go there. The Brewers too, like there's a lot of question marks in this division, just across the board. So I guess that's my answer. Like it's hard for me to say now. I think there's still some moves to be made. Like if like gun to my head, Jim, what's this team going to do this year? 76 and 86. Like that's my prediction, probably where we're sitting right now. But things could go bad. Like things could go bad, things could go good. Like the starting rotation is not what you want to see right now. The young guys, we haven't seen a whole lot of development from them outside of Jack Swinski, So like does anyone else actually get better? I don't know. Is O'Neal Cruz an MVP candidate? Like there's a lot of questions. So I think this team is good enough that we're at least talking about meaningful baseball games going into September. I don't know if they have the capability to get to the finish line.
Good answer. I think this is something we've talked about at length all year. And I feel like maybe sometimes it gets misconstrued. I don't think any of us hate this team. I don't think any of us think this team's god awful. Like this isn't the same vibe as 2020, 2021, 2022, right? Even 2023. When like last year we were talking it up a little bit like that. I mean, they were bare minimum moves, but like, hey, they actually went and got like the bare minimum. Like they got a Santana, they got Kutch. Like it's not going to be awful at least, right? So the floor is risen. There's some quality to this team. I think when we talk negatively, right, about this offseason and such, and it correlates to the team, it comes off maybe thinking that like we think this team's awful, and it's not. And again, like I think I talked about a little bit on NSN Live this past week, and I'll say it again. There's talent on this team. I think it's somewhat limited to others. And you bring it up, I'll bring it up, and because they love to get on me about this, but like the Reds, right? And we talked this behind the scenes a little last night, but the Reds made that turnaround very quickly, and they brought in a lot of talent. And you know what? Last year, it pretty much it seemingly all hit too. Like when the Pirates brought up their rookies, they all struggled, and when the Reds brought up their rookies, they pretty much all played well for the most part, right, on both sides. So it's like there's a lot of talent for the Reds, and they seem to be already a step ahead as far as development. So like that kind of worries you, as you're talking about this team. But they could go flat too, right? Like if you think the Pirates could take that next step and be better, then you can't in the same mouth, right? Same different side of it, talk negative about the Reds because they could absolutely do the same thing. They've already done it better, right? But like we're going back to this team is like, yeah, there's just so many variants because it's a young team and there's a lot of unsures with it. You don't know what these prospects are going to do because they've had limited at bats. And in those limited at bats, they were poor or innings thrown, right? And it's just like what's frustrating is if you do believe in this team, then why did they supplement it with better stuff around it? That's what's frustrating. Like they have in our minds, we don't have the books, neither do you. I get it. But like $80 million for a payroll just seems totally unacceptable right now. When you have these questions, you see this division with all those flaws that you talked about, and you could go out there and just more or less take it. And you didn't. That's what's frustrating. So again, like back to the team, there's definitely a lot of things to be hopeful and excited for, but because of all the unshores and uncertainties, I can't bank on an 80-win team. I can't bank on an 85-win team. I could see that happening. If it's October 2024 and they've won 85 games, kudos to them. And like the talent is there and I'm not shocked by it. But they haven't done anything to like ensure that they will. And that's where I'm at too, because for all the reasons they could win 85 is all the reasons that they could win 70. And so what do you do when you have a team like that? You kind of chop it up in the middle. And you say 75, 76. And that's kind of like where I'm at with you as well. Like I'm just going to hedge my bets, play it safe. They could go either way. So I'm going to chop it right up in the middle and say it's probably like a 75, 76 win team because some guys will probably hit and do well and others still won't. And things even out.
Yeah, and I want to add to this, like, I feel like a lot of people a lot of people are pretty positive about this team, right? And there are reasons to be, right? And you said something where you're like, we're not negative about this team. Like, we're not down on this group of guys. Like, I hate the rebuild process, right? But I also understand that, because of that, they have gotten there's a decent core here, right? And we're now in year 5, and you've got a core of guys that you've accumulated over these last few years, and you're ready to compete. I'm not down on the current team. What I'm down on is, like you said, we're in a division that's ripe for the taking, and they didn't take it, right? They did the bare minimum again. And they're really counting on this core group of guys, right? No one that they brought in outside of, I mean, Rowdy Tellez probably is like the one guy they brought in where it's like he could make an impact if he reaches his upside, right? Like if Rowdy Tellez turns into 2022 Rowdy Tellez and goes out there and hits 35 homers, that's an impactful signing for this team. Now, you can't bank on that, like you said. Like that's not something you can count on. It's another what if, right? They didn't bring in anything that you can bank on outside. Even Chapman, their best signing, right? Not if he does what he did last year, awesome. But the years prior to that were not good. Like, I don't think you can bank on Aroldis Chapman being this great lockdown reliever. I think he's going to be good. Like, he's a good pitcher. I'm going to bet on the talent. Like I mentioned, I'm going to bet on that talent.
Right.
But they didn't do anything this offseason to like really, really get better and say, you know what, this division's here for the taking. We're going to take it. And everything that they needed was available at one point in time, and they just didn't do it. That's the frustrating part. The frustrating part is they got to this point where, 2 years ago, we were talking about one of the worst teams in baseball. Now we're talking about a team that's in a position where if you added pieces to it, they could compete for a division. And the frustrating part is they didn't do it. They added pieces basically to just fill a roster. That's the frustrating part to me. And like you mentioned, the payroll, it's just not in line with where it should be. Like, you look at other teams in this division, Milwaukee and Cincinnati. That's all I'm saying. Like, spend like Milwaukee and Cincinnati. You don't have to spend like the Cubs. You don't have to spend like the Cardinals. Spend like Milwaukee and Cincinnati, and you're right there in the thick of this thing. And they didn't do it.
Yep. Totally fair. Totally fair. I had something I forgot. But that's fine because I probably said it 13 times anyways this offseason. But yeah, again, that just goes with it. Like, there's just so much volatility with this team. It's going to be very hard to like knock down what this team is right now before seeing any baseball because, again, like, we just don't know. And that's, again, part of the problem. So, all right, good answers. We'll move on. So who are your best guys for 7th, 8th, and 9th inning closer? Related, assuming Bednar stays the go-to guy in the 9th, do you think that BCDS will otherwise pursue a mix? Sorry, my mouse is over. Mix and match approach based on matchups, or is it just simple as Chapman to Bednar? Okay, like, who's the back end of this bullpen, Jim?
I think it's pretty simple. Just say late in the game, if it's close, you're going Holderman, Chapman, Bednar. Like, those are your 3 best guys back there. Those are the 3 guys you got to lean on.
I agree. You don't sign in Chapman to be a matchup guy. You sign him because basically he was a closer. Now you have 2 closers as an 8th and 9th inning guy. And you're keeping Bednar there, obviously. Like, Bednar's the closer. He's not being moved off because of Chapman. Bednar's still the closer. But you now have the luxury of, I also have Aroldis Chapman here. And that just kind of slides everyone down. Like, if we talk about question marks, right? You're kind of questionable about Holderman. We like his talent too. He didn't really put it all together last season to be very, very confident and comfortable. Like, he's a shutdown 8th inning guy. Probably is. But you don't have to worry about that now. Chapman's there. that takes a lot of pressure off of him. What I'll say though is like what is nice, like adding a Chapman affords you the opportunities to play a little more matchups because like you have a lot of guys that you feel kind of confident in. And hopefully like once season starts, you feel that confidence there. They're all pitching well. So like I think it allows you that, but Chapman's your dude, and then Bednar's the next guy up. Like there's no questions about that.
Yeah. And what's nice about this is like there's going to be times where David Bednar unavailable. He pitched 2 days in a row. You're not going to pitch him a third in the row, and now it just helps out that depth, right? Because then instead of Holderman being your closer, and then you're like, oh shit, who's like our setup guy now? Like who's bridging the gap? It just lengthens that bullpen a whole lot more. I really like this team's bullpen. It is the strength of this team. If the starting pitching can get to the 6th, it's going to at least allow this team to be in a lot of games.
I agree. You know what? You said something that I never thought through so far. We've criticized this team, and most more in Shelton, obviously, because like, the usage of Bednar. Man, does Chapman help out with that? Man, like I didn't think about that aspect. Like you don't have to sit here and say, David Bednar, we're playing the Dodgers. Dear Lord, save us this game. Here, throw out 35 pitches.
Yeah, David Bednar, you've got to get the last 8 outs of this game or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like they don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, holding him up for all year too. Not seeing like maybe the second half drop and stuff. Man, Chapman's gonna help out with there because, like, you hopefully, right? All things go well. You feel very confident, like David, take a rest. We got a guy at those 103 that's going to take care of it for you today. Yeah. Take your rest. So yeah, I like that. All right, cool. What else we have?
How many more non-playoff seasons? This is from Kyle. How many more non-playoff seasons do Derek Shelton and Ben Cherington have on their leash?
Well,
I think the answer is 2. Yeah, you are frozen. I think the answer is 2. Like I think if this team makes strides this year and like just misses, they still get another shot. Like if this team goes 81 and 81, no one's going anywhere, right? So if this team goes 81 and 81, then they go 80 and 82, then it's like we need somebody to bump us over this hill. Yeah, DiNardo's internet just crapped out on him, so I guess I'm taking this one solo.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We just can't see you. Yeah. But I think that's the answer. I think both are relatively safe this year, unless it's a disaster of a season. Like if this team takes a step backwards this year, then you've got to then you got to really reassess things, right? But I think as long as they keep taking a step forward, both of them have job security going in the next year. But if we go into year 6 and they still haven't gotten over the hump, then I would imagine Shelton's the first one that's kind of on the chopping block. Cherington probably gets maybe one more year, but that would be my answer to that question. Neither of them are in any danger right now.
I agree with the whole, like, not right now. What I don't like about this question is having to, like, speak in absolutes. I've made it very clear. I'm not about excuses. And I think a lot of the issues right now are excuses for this team and such. But you have to have some. I'll present it this way. If next year they win 80 games, okay, I say next year. This year they win 80 games, and then next year they win 80 games. And in both of those seasons, one, they lose Mitch Keller. The next year they lose Brian Reynolds, or whatever. Like I think you could talk to me as well, but what if? I mean, like I think there's still some of that in there. Again, I'm just saying, like, I hate to say it. So I guess what I'm alluding to is I think their jobs are pretty safe unless something drastic happens. Like this year, I think they're probably safe regardless. But like if next year they're like a 75 win team and there's no like big enough excuses, there's some real issues there. But again, like if they win 80 games next year, like we're talking about under 500 for 2 years. Like if you win 80 games next year, you're also under 500. But like if there was something drastic that happened, then you could excuse that, I guess. And I guess I could probably talked into why you keep the whole regime here still, right?
Right.
So that's all. I think it's pretty safe, is I think what both of us are definitely saying here, though.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a good one from Ryan. What lie do you tell yourself about this team most often? It's a good question. Like, what are you doing that's kind of fooling yourself? That's kidding yourself.
I wish my face could be seen right now because I'd be like, "Hey, Yark, what do you tell yourself?" Love you, Yark.
Oh, this is a tough one for me. What lie do I tell myself about this team most often? I'm gonna say, and I don't know if it's a lie. It's more just like wishful thinking, right? But I still am holding out a lot of hope. God, DiNardo is just a mess right now. I'm still holding out a lot of hope that Henry Davis turns into a star and that he can catch. Like, in the back of my mind, I am telling myself Henry Davis is the next Will Smith, right? Like that's I guess the lie that I'm telling myself is, and it's not like I said, it's more just wishful thinking, but that's probably it for me. Because if that happens, like that's so nice. That's so helpful.
I gave you the floor. I saw this question before we started, and I still don't know how to answer this. I don't know. I try not to lie to myself. Maybe that's what it is. It's just like I'm not gonna do it.
I don't
I've
know.
been
That's a
pretty
lie.
honest.
That's a lie, though. You for years you were basically propping up Chad Cool. So,
But I believed in it. So it
well,
wasn't a
that's what
lie I was telling myself. I believed in
That's
that.
true. That's a George Costanza saying right there. It's not a lie if you believe it, right?
Actually, that's perfectly said. Exactly. I guess if I'm gonna answer this, I don't know. Like, what lie do I tell myself? I don't know, man. I really don't know. And I'm okay. So like, put myself in the Chad Cole mindset. Who am I like
Yeah.
the most bullish on? Maybe that others aren't. I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like that's
Jeez.
actually true.
Maybe
Like, right?
it's
I can't think of someone who you're like overly hyped about right now. Jason DeLay, maybe. But I don't even know if that's just like a shtick,
but
right?
yeah,
Like you
that's
just love Jason DeLay for some reason. Yeah, that's a tough question for you because I feel like you're not overly optimistic about anybody on this team. Maybe all those people on Twitter are right, DiNardo. You're so detrimental to this team's success just from your mindset.
but like I feel like I don't have irrational hate for anyone either. Maybe I'm just so far this entire rebuild and everything is just maybe to a point where just like I just need to see it. I'm tired of shit. I don't know. I get what I was gonna say is maybe the O'Neal Cruz. I do believe in O'Neal Cruz. I feel like that's the one mainly last year and years before, which hasn't played in so long, but like I feel like that's the one I'm backing up often. O'Neal Cruz is a player. He can I feel like he can play shortstop. And I feel like he's a good player. So maybe that. I don't know. The lie I'm telling myself is O'Neal Cruz will come back and play very well this year.
Yeah, I
That's
don't even think that's a
that's
lie. I think that's
boring.
true. Yeah, that is a boring lie. Man, you're no fun.
Sorry.
All right. All right. How about one last question before we get out of here?
And I can't fix my camera, by the way. I don't know what's up.
You're a mess. But like Yark said, the product, not seeing you has helped the product. So, maybe we should try this more often. All right, last question here. This is from Jolly Roger Report. Who is your biggest candidate to break out in spring training? He adds that he's saying Nikki G, but biggest candidate to break out in spring training. What do you think there, DiNardo?
I think the safe bet is Henry Davis. I think that's absolutely the safest bet because we know the dude can rake. And, last year he came up and you saw signs very early. We understand the injury was there. There's still development, right? He's got a lot under his belt as far as some of the learning curve last year, right? We know how much he worked this offseason. I think the biggest thing about him is mentally in the catching, Hopefully he's good enough that the Batches plays, but the dude can just flat out hit. And I think he can regain that. And obviously we saw how bad last year was, so it doesn't take much for him to break out in that sense. I think the easy answer is Henry Davis.
That's a pretty easy answer. Yeah.
Do you want my under the radar one though?
Yeah, give me an under the radar one.
If it is under the radar, but I will say Piguero. Again, I am hopeful for Piguero. And if he's still a Pirate, which it seems like he is, and today he is right now, I do like Piguero's talent.
Okay.
And dear Lord, could this team use Piguero breaking out?
All right, so I'm gonna go with a real answer and then also a behind the radar one. My answer is Edward Olivares.
That's a good one.
I could see Edward Olivares coming over here and just raking in spring training, kind of being one of those who was the Jose Osuna type spring training where he's just launching bombs left and right.
The reason I didn't like that, I was going to say another person, is because both of them are in the same situation. I was going to go Diego Castillo, but we know those guys are now.
Yeah.
So don't do that to us, Jim.
Well, this is going to actually pay off, right?
Okay.
So this is the lie I'm telling myself.
Kevin Newman.
There you go. I'm actually going to I'm going to take back my last answer. My next answer is Edward Olivares, breakout spring training, and he's going to become this 20-25 plus homer guy. No, I like Edward Olivares. I like the way he finished last year. The dude has a ton of power. He's someone that this team this team has lacked just a pure power bat. And I think he's got a good chance of providing that. So that's my pick. More of an under. Hey, you're back. Under the radar, I'm going to actually go to the pitching staff, and I'm going to say it's going to be a relief pitcher who's going to look really good. And people are going to be like, hey, you know what? This guy kind of sucked last year, but he looks pretty good now. I'm going to go Hunter Stratton, DiNardo. Hunter Stratton.
Oh, okay.
That's my way under the radar one. And the reason why I'm saying this is because he put up pretty good strikeout numbers in AAA last year. He had didn't have a ton of playing time last year, but he was effective in the majors as well. The stuff's kind of enticing at times, little kind of all over the place, but yeah, Hunter Stratton is my pick.
The stuff's kind of enticing some of the time. Yeah, that's way under the radar.
Completely under the radar pick, Hunter Stratton.
Jim, what's gotten into you? I feel like if this was 2023, Jim, we'd be hearing, that's not a Major League Baseball player.
Hey, we're talking about way under the radar here. I'm saying that spring training comes along and there's last cuts to be made. Non-roster invitee Hunter Stratton. It's yeah, that's my pick.
Okay. I mean, if that happens, that'll be good. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm not banking on that happening, but I'll take it. Yeah, so good question. I guess what makes this kind of difficult again is again like the way the team is right now. Like there's so many players that could fit this bill right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who could use some breakout spring trainings and
For
regular
sure.
seasons.
All right. So I think that wraps it up.
I think it does.
Cool. All right. Well, then let's get out of here. So yeah, this week again, kind of a little bit late. I think we'll have a clubhouse on Friday, just so people know that. Obviously, NS9 Live this Wednesday. Introducing something today, so stay tuned. But if you know Vinny, our friend Vinny from Twitter, he's going to be doing some stuff with us. So our NS9 Gaming take another step. Vinny's on board with us. He'll be taking over some NS9 Gaming duties, and we're going live today at 8:00 tonight. So again, stay tuned. We'll make the announcement. We still got some more behind the scenes stuff. Get with the Vinny on, but yeah, Vinny's debuting with NS9 tonight at 8:00.
This is like his second debut. He debuted in Jeopardy a couple years ago.
Well,
So
okay, yeah.
This is now his official NS9 debut, though. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
excited.
forget
I'm
about
looking
that
forward.
first
Yeah, looking
debut
forward.
then. I
Looking
think Vinny
forward
wants
to
to forget about that as well.
Yeah, it's a redo. Yeah.
There it is. I still have the meme though.
Yeah.
But yeah. So again, this is the final week, and then we're in Bradenton next week, and man, I can't wait. And then after Bradenton, we have another thing under our. We were cooking, Jim. We were cooking. We announced something coming up here soon too. But anyways, let's get out of here. So appreciate everyone for watching. We'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.